What's up, guys? It's Mike for Sim Racing 604, and this is it. I'm finally a member of the Fanatec Wheel Club. I'm so excited about this. It's been a long time coming. I will get into that story, but yeah, this is my review of the CSL DD, the Boost Kit, the QR1 Quick Release, and the McLaren GT3 V2 wheel. I'm beyond excited. We're going to get these unboxed, get them mounted, and I will share my review of all this. Let's do it. All right, guys, so why so excited? Well, obviously new gear is always good, and CSL DD, arguably the biggest news story in the world of sim hardware, but also there's a few other reasons why I'm stoked about it. Number one, this is my third hardware review in a row, and it's a lot of work. It's usually 2 days of recording, 2 days of editing, so I'm excited to get back to mods and game updates like you're used to from this channel. So that's one. Two is I own now a piece of hardware stamped with my favorite auto manufacturer. I own a McLaren stamped wheel. I think that's just the coolest thing. I have to admit, I jumped the queue a bit, opened this early because I just wanted to see it, put my hands on it. So it'll be a re-unboxing, but I'm excited about that. I love McLaren and cool to have a wheel. And third, because it's just been a long time coming. I've rocked my AccuForce for a very long time. Years ago, I reached out to Fanatec and tried to get them on board for a hardware review, a comparison that I was doing. Didn't hear back, and then I've tried a couple more times since, didn't hear back, but finally a friend of my channel, and he knows who he is. I won't shout him out directly, but he knows who he is. He made this happen. So I finally got in touch with them. They were so awesome. I was worried that, you know, maybe there's a script, maybe there's things I had to say, things I couldn't say, but it wasn't like that at all. They were very straight up, said, you know, there's nothing you have to say, nothing you can't say, no script, there's no money changing hands, I don't have an affiliate link, so this is all my thoughts. I can finish this review, throw it in the trash if I want, but I can guarantee you I won't. So super excited, and we can now begin the unboxing. All right, so we'll start off with the wheel, and as mentioned, I've already opened it, so this is a re-unboxing. But I promise you I'll be equally as excited because I just love this thing. Fanatec, big on their messages. This one says, "It's tough at the top." So we have the wheel, of course. Stickers. Button caps, more stickers for the front of the wheel. The first ones are just Fanatec stickers. Put them wherever. And of course the McLaren GT3 wheel. Super cool. Love the size of this, by the way. When I first took it out, first thing I noticed is it feels substantial. It feels big. Most of it is plastic, but at the same time, it's got a good weight to it. And my hands fit it perfectly. Something I'm surprised, actually, is that more people haven't said it's too big for their hands, because this one actually fits me perfect. But when I extend my fingers to the shift, by the way, the shifter is rocker action, so you can push or pull. But anyway, when I put my hands on it, like, it's perfectly sized to me, but I have big hands, so I'm surprised more people haven't said this is too big for them. But either way, perfect for me, and I absolutely love the looks of this. Obviously the 650S no longer competing in GT3, but still a cool piece of automotive gaming tech. I really love this thing. So amazing, could hardly love it more. Make sure that stays in the shot. And we have our QR1 here, this little quick release. And just a side note here, while past Mike tries to get his head around why there's no metal quick release in the box, present Mike can tell you that I contacted Fanatec about this, and it turns out I was to receive the QR1 Lite wheel side, which they were kind enough to include as part of the McLaren GT3 V2 wheel assembly, which is something past Mike is soon to figure out. So let's move on. This one is the Boost Kit. Somewhat controversial. This is the power supply that takes the CSL DD from 5 Newton meters to 8. And exactly what you would expect, frankly. Power supply. It's heavy. It's got a good weight to it. Output is what? 180 watts, 7.5 amp. Plugs into standard North American outlet in this case. And the other end, of course, plugs into your CSL DD wheelbase. And finally, of course, we have the CSL DD. And the message from Fanatec says a little bit, my limit is a little bit further than others, is the message in here. Stickers, instruction manual. And there it is. Ooh, it's heavy. Clear some of this out of the way. What do we got here? Okay, USB cable, USB-C to standard USB. Was that A? I always get that confused. And then here she is with the standard do not eat packs. So yeah, here's my CSL DD, and surprisingly, plastic on the end. I thought the whole thing was metal, but the center is metal. Ends are plastic. Interesting. One button on the front. Yeah, very cool. So as I say, just beyond excited. Should be mounting hardware actually, now that I think about it. Did I lose a box of mounting hardware? I'll have to search around for that. Oh, I bet it's in here. Here we are. All right, so these T-nuts, not spring-loaded, interestingly. So, yeah, interesting. I thought these would be spring-loaded, but that's fine. All right, so that's the unboxing, guys. So that's it. I'm gonna take a few shots here for the video, and then we'll get this mounted and start testing my CSL DD in Fanatec McLaren GT3 V2 wheel. Super pumped. Thank you guys for helping me make this happen. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I've seen a ton of reviews of the CSL DD pop up in my timeline in recent weeks, and I'm sure you have too, and you're more than familiar with what this is. So I'll try and keep the features section of this review as brief as I can. The CSL DD is Fanatec's newest wheelbase, and it features direct drive technology, meaning there's no belts or gears used to create the force feedback effects. Direct drive gives stronger and more accurate forces through your wheel than belt or gear driven wheelbases can, and typically direct drive wheelbases are far more expensive than consumer belt and gear driven wheelbases, but Fanatec offers the CSL DD for $350 US. The included power supply gives the CSL DD a peak torque rating of 5 Newton meters, and the $150 Boost Kit add-on bumps that number up to 8 Newton meters. You can now buy the CSL DD bundled with the Boost Kit for $480, which saves you $20 versus buying the 2 units separately, and the aluminum shaft of the CSL DD is compatible with QR1 quick release systems and the soon-to-be released QR2 system. There's connection ports at the rear of the unit for the single USB connection to your PC or Xbox, and you can also plug in the power and direct connections to your Fanatec shifter, pedals, and handbrake at the rear. The McLaren GT3 V2 wheel is the second generation wheel built as a full-scale replica of the real-world McLaren 650S GT3 race car. The Fanatec wheel is primarily made of plastic with rubber grips. The magnetic shift paddles are rocker style, and below the shift paddles are 2 analog paddles which can be mapped to things like clutch and clutch bite point, or even acceleration and braking. The wheel features a 1-inch OLED display, 2 two-way toggle switches, 2 12-position switches configurable as endless rotary encoders, a 7-way funky switch with left, right, up, down, directional inputs, push button, and rotary encoder functionality, 2 high bezel snap dome buttons with laser engraved P and N lettering and identical resistance to the buttons on the real wheel, and 7 more standard buttons with exchangeable button caps, and a tuning menu for instant access to force feedback and other Fanatec hardware adjustments. The McLaren GT3 V2 wheel retails for $200 US. So, time for my review of the CSL DD Boost Kit and McLaren GT3 V2 wheel. And Summary, it's the best wheel and wheelbase I've ever owned. It's phenomenal. I've used my 13 Newton meter AccuForce for years and tried high-end professional sim setups with closer to 20 Newton meter motors, and they're definitely more punchy than the CSL DD, but in terms of smoothness and detail, it's a wash in my mind. I thought I'd like this setup. I didn't know I'd love it this much. I don't have a round wheel, so that means I'll be going back to my AccuForce most of the time until I can get a round Fanatec wheel, because I love rally racing and supercars, but whenever the opportunity presents itself for GT or Formula racing, this is it. This is my new wheel. Alright, so let's get into the good, neutral, and bad, and starting off as always with the good. And first up, the quality of the force feedback. It's brilliantly detailed. Every time the car understeers, every time you go over a curb, every fast corner, every excursion onto the grass or gravel, it's all recreated beautifully. Again, I had this with my AccuForce, but it took significant tuning to get there. The recommended settings for the CSL DD are all I've used so far, and it's been outstanding. There's rare occasions where there was a bit more punchiness or sharpness in my AccuForce, but you have to really be searching for it to notice it. And second up is the McLaren wheel. Yeah, it's plastic and rubber instead of metal and leather like you might prefer, but the wheel still feels very robust and grippy, and the lower grade materials keep the cost at the $200 price point. It's got great size, lots of buttons, and the bonus paddles for clutch and throttle or brake or whatever you want to do with your analog paddles. Plus it's McLaren branded, so checkmate in my mind. And of course, you can't talk about the CSL DD without talking about value. $350 for a direct drive wheelbase is not only a good value product for Fanatec, but it's also become the measuring stick for all other wheelbases on the market. When I did my review recently of the Thrustmaster T248, a common theme I heard around that wheel was, well, why is Thrustmaster charging $400 for that when I can have direct drive for $350? It's a flawed comparison, of course, because the $350 CSL DD is a wheelbase only, but it speaks to how far the pricing of the CSL DD echoes. Depending on where the pricing lands for the CSL pedals and load cell upgrade, it's entirely possible that in the coming months you'll be able to get an 8 Newton meter direct drive wheelbase with the McLaren or the WRC wheel, plus a set of pedals with the load cell brake for around $900 total, and I think that's pretty incredible. And lastly, in the good category, and this is something many people may take for granted depending on which wheels you're running historically or which wheelbases you run historically, but the CSL DD runs very quiet and stays cool. Even after longer sessions with force feedback turned high, there wasn't even a whisper from this base, and the surfaces were still cool to the touch thanks to its passive fanless cooling system. It's very impressive. My AccuForce has an external control box that sounds like a Harrier jet by comparison. And moving on now to the neutral category, and the first item to discuss is the shaft and connection pins. Granted, thousands of people every day disconnect and reconnect wheels onto Fanatec wheelbases without issues, but when I look inside the quick release mechanism and see those exposed pins, I get nervous. Maybe nothing will ever happen, but if I somehow bent a pin, I'm certain it would be costly. Next up is the power of the CSL DD. 5 Newton meters is not a lot in the direct drive world. While it's true that most DD owners turn down their force feedback in-game, the extra punch a 15 or 20 Newton meter motor gives you in reaction speed is noticeably absent, especially if you don't have that boost kit. But I personally would still take this CSL DD over any 5 Newton meter-ish belt or gear-driven wheelbase I've ever tried. And the boost kit is up next. This is the most controversial aspect of the CSL DD. At the extremes of opinions, you have people claiming this is a pure cash grab and Fanatec is selling you a laptop power cable for $150. And at the other end of the range of opinions, you have people viewing the CSL DD as a cost-effective way to get into the direct drive space, and then a $150 charge to bring the unit closer to the higher end models, and that's a fair upgrade path. And personally, I'm somewhere in between. Do I think the top management at Fanatec sat in a boardroom plotting new ways to squeeze their customers out of their hard-earned money? Obviously not. But do I think they're making bigger margins on Boost Kit than the CSL DD base? Probably. It's not unlike Sony or Microsoft taking a hit on their consoles to get you into their ecosystem and making money off their games, or your local electronics store selling you a TV at an impossible price in hopes that you'll opt for the warranty or buy a $50 HDMI cord. But then again, I'm not privy to any of the financial or marketing decisions within Fanatec, so I could be 100% wrong. It's in the neutral category for me, because if I'm right about the pricing strategy, then it's just a tried and true business model, but it's perhaps gone to market clumsily and earned Fanatec some detractors. Who knows? And finally, in the neutral, the looks of the CSL DD. It's a block. It's not offensive looking, but it's not pretty either. I know the style is formed around a small electric motor, so I'm not expecting beautiful flowing lines, but still just sort of a neutral look. Maybe I'll invest in some stickers or something to make it pretty. And in the bad category, I'll admit I'm struggling to find anything worth mentioning. I try to be balanced in my reviews, and again, I'm not making any money whether you buy this wheel or not, but nothing in my hours of testing has really jumped out at me as bad about this wheel or wheelbase set. I would like to say that screws need to be added in addition to the T-nuts, but honestly that's pretty nitpicky. In summary folks, I love this thing. I'd heard other reviews and I knew the CSL DD and GT3 V2 wheel wouldn't be bad, but I also didn't know it would be this good. Again, it's displaced my AccuForce for GT and Formula racing. I'm going to save my money and get a round wheel for rally and road car sim racing, but as soon as possible I'm going to make the CSL DD a permanent fixture on my rig. It's amazing, frankly. I haven't tried the DD1 and DD2 bases, but if the CSL DD is more in line with your budget, it has my strong recommendation. Get the Boost Kit if you want a bit more punch in your force feedback, but if it's not in your price range to do so, you'll be fine without. To state again, there's no script, no things to mention or not mention in this review, no money has changed hands, I don't have an affiliate link or any obligation to use this beyond this video, so these are just entirely my thoughts, and it really is the best wheel and wheelbase combo I've ever owned. Are there better wheelbases on the market? Yep. Is this the one to beat at this price point? 100% yes. Thanks for watching.